I no longer have any idea how far I am into this game and what is mid-game and what is late-game in BluePrince. But we're getting a satellite dish for our manor, reading some secret messages, and finishing out the Realm puzzles, so join me for another update on my BluePrince discoveries beyond Room 46. We're starting with the freezer. If you bring the burning glass here, you can defrost not only the main freezer items, but also the contents of the chest freezer inside. There is another letter from Herbert giving us clues about the arch message and getting into the safes to find the letters. I am not explaining that one again. But I did find the 7th safe and red letter. In the drafting room, there's a small model of a room with a safe in it. With magnifying glass, we can actually zoom in on the combination keypad. And there's a handy calendar with 8 gates over the month of November. So using the aforementioned clues, we can open that one up as well. Inside, there is another note from our mother. Uncle, in a few hours we are departing. As planned, we will be taking the old Mountain Way tunnels to the north. We'll go as far as we can by the trolley until the rails give out. Then we'll proceed on foot until we reach the southern border. I've never been as excited, nervous, and heartbroken. I may never know if we've made the right decisions, but I've made the ones I felt my father might have nodded in approval of. I am leaving a message for Simon here in the safe house, this unhallowed cavern that we have called home for the last year. If something should happen to me, please guide him to this place. Try to show him what these lost days were all for. Explain to him, if you can, the intersection between foolishness and doctrine. The thin wire we stood upon above the world, holding hands and throwing stones. Holding hands and throwing stones. In those days we were guilty of everything. As always, Mary. It does seem like our uncle left us clues to find about what may have happened to our mother. But from the drawing room letter it seemed like we were supposed to reunite few years after she left, and that did not happen. So where is she? Back in the secret compartment in the freezer, we have another note mentioning Blackbridge and an admin password. Previous one was in the servants' quarters. Now taking those 2 passwords to Blackbridge only tells us that those keys have been deactivated, but we can definitely see a pattern of their very insecure password system. 4 letters from a surname plus first name initial. Well, we definitely know another members of staff full name, Anne Babbage. She has access, but not much. Weirdly enough, she can see everyone else's login key, because again, the security standards here are not great. So we can grab one of those admin access keys, and we're in. From here, we can turn on electronic mail for every terminal in the house, not just the office. But we still do not have external communications available. There's a whole set of admin logs, mostly talking about the system being set up and various things being added or maintained. Security video playback is mentioned, but we got access to that already. Then there are a bunch of deleted logs. And there's a mention of an admin key being created that doesn't fit the regular pattern, with later mention of an archived access privileges, where archived and deleted entries can be accessed. So we will have to get ourselves one of those. We end on the message of things being disabled in preparation for our arrival to the manor. Well, we got some new emails to check out in various rooms across the house. In security, we have more mentions of the security surveillance recordings being stopped. Another email talks about redundant antechamber levers. We have found some of those already, but this one specifically is in the weight room. There's a bricked up area there, which I can assume can be broken with the power hammer, but I'm not in a rush to visit the weight room usually. And in the last one, Mrs. Babbage is complaining about the confusing nature of red and blue memos being left around the house with various information. This also mentions a puzzle being prepared in the clock tower, but we're done with that one already. In the lab we get some mentions of the freezer mechanic, talking about how going in and out of it does not affect the temperature, but being near the furnace does. The other 2 emails are about the Blackbridge grotto getting sealed off in preparation for the Red Guard coming to investigate, which we know happened sometime after our mother went missing. And clearly Baron Sinclair was worried about incriminating information that might be uncovered here. In the shelter we also get emails mentioning 4 people hiding down there, at some point just after our mother went missing. And then mentions of them relocating to somewhere that needs the pump room and a boat, which is clearly the underground safe house we also already visited. Well, that got us some lore and clue we mostly already had. So what we need now is a new clue. This is a book supposedly written by our mother, but it was only released after she disappeared. The text is all about finding new clues, so you know what to do. All he needed was to find a new clue. If he found a new clue, he'd know what to do. If he knew what to do, he'd likely tell you, for you are looking for a new clue too. The images are quite interesting as they contain a bunch of familiar objects and images from the house. He had retraced his sketches and studied the files, reviewed all his cases and gone through the piles of the evidence present and precedents evident, and retraced his steps as it stretched on for miles. There are 2 lists of house rooms listed under dead and corner cases. Some of those rooms are ticked. There's another piece of paper with a list of names and ages. He had looked high and low in all of the rooms. He had searched every corner in each of the tombs. In this particular case, he had checked every space. If he found a new clue, he would know what to do. This page has a series of numbers next to words. When arranged in order, we get a message. All checked corner case rooms had a lowercase clue found in the rooms. If we check on the corner cases, this turns out to be leading to rooms with notes where one word was each written in a distinct font. Put together, they made a message. Buried beside Western Bridge. And that is where we previously found a Blackbridge chip, because I figured it out back in the demo. This is not a new clue at all. Oh well, let's keep going. He looked and he looked under beds and in nooks. He questioned the maids, he questioned the cooks. It was already over when he spoke to the chauffeur, who told him new clues were only found in books. Some tome after tome that the library loaned and the books that he had that he already owned were searched from their covers all the way through. If he found a new clue, he'd know what to do. The next thing we see is 4 colored books with titles on them, although they are not any books we have. He changed all the letters and the lines that he found. He checked all the colors of the spines that were bound. He doubled the meaning of each seasonal greeting and found that the direction of each word was sound. That gives us Tender Cipher, Red Prince, Lunar Renamed, Realm and Rune, Ankle Awe, a new clue, Draft the Sixes, the Fixed Stars. We will need all of those for something then. He stayed up all night and studied the maps. He laid out the floor plans and measured the gaps. And if his directory was a trajectory, it was nothing short of full mental lapse. A man obsessed and cuckoo too, they would say as he would wander through. The best medicine is not yet evident. If he found a new clue, he'd know what to do. And having read this book so many times, having scoured over each of its cryptic lines, have you exhausted your search? Have you seen all the signs? There are a bunch of clues on this page, major being split in the middle to indicate this may actually be words in Erigen, small name. There's a partial key to what we will need to do with the books, find specific words on specific pages, but the values are hidden behind another puzzle. There are notes saying dead end, major key, XYZ, ABC, which is the letters we need to replace with numbers to know what to find in the books. Then, have you seen all the signs? Well, we'll get back to that in a little bit. Or is there perhaps something new, something overlooked but now in view? Have you finally found it? Could it really be true? If it's a new clue, you'll know what to do. On the last page, we have some of those red and blue memos. The blue one says the suspect is minor, and then a note that looks like a computer terminal screen says the suspect is a key. The suspect is also major, since that red note is handwritten, but with the other clue about Erigen, this can mean small name instead of referring to age. Well, if we get back to the suspect list from earlier, there's a bunch of people of different ages. What immediately stood out to me is Bo Lee. It's a minor with a short name. Back to Blackbridge with that, and we're in. This user does have access to the deleted messages, and we can also see they added 2 other users to the system. Lee, we are planning something later this year and need to make sure communication on here is not being archived. Are there additional steps we can take to ensure privacy? Already taken care of. We are now bypassing message archiving. Randall shouldn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Good. No one else on the estate knows we're here, other than Mary, of course, who saw Lee on Tuesday, but Honyu has a plan to take care of her. If it must be done, it must be done. Just see to it that the body is not discovered. The last thing we need is for the Red Guard to be snooping around here. She won't be found, rest assured. Let's disperse for now. I'll meet you all at the safe house in Reddington in 4 days. Then once the inquiry is over, we'll proceed with our plan for the museum. Resuming operations. I've been camping out of this old schoolhouse for the past month, waiting for your return. It's spacious, quiet, and should prove to be an effective base of operations outside of the purview of the staff and the Baron. We should have an opening on the first day of September. Can we be ready by then? I don't see why not. Negotiations for transportations are in the final stages. If all goes well, we will have air passage to Nuance secured for that date. I think Moore is planning a scheduled maintenance soon, and we should likely wrap up things here. I'd say it's time to scrap these logs. They might fall under some scrutiny in the near future. And then the users have been delisted from the user database. Wait, what? Who are those people, and what did they do? There were 3 other people with her mother, but the names used for the loggings here do not match them. Could be pseudonyms, of course, but not sure about that. Would the people working with her betray her? Or is there some other group involved in another way? Right now, it's unclear to me. It's also not confirmed they did carry out this plan. Maybe she still got away somehow. But it would explain why her plan to reunite did not happen, if that was indeed what happened to her. Also, the security here really sucks. How did no one notice these people sneaking around and breaking into their network? Let's see if we can find out any more clues about what is going on here. Back to the books and the signs. There are actually signs all across the book, and right next to those clues, we also have the map from the train station. If we put the signs together, we get Route 8, Depart, Keep Left, Two Tanner Fork, Dead End. Record each stop on the way. If we follow that on the map, we get a series of stations in a shape that also matches the image our mother was showing us in the security footage. This gives us 6 numbered stations. 8, 7, 3, 10, 1, 13. Seems like we can apply those to the XYZ ABC pattern. So if we grab those 4 books I mentioned, find the right pages, and find the right words, we get Turn, Scorch, Sundial Base? Well, I know there's a sundial in the orchard, but it currently does not look very scorched. But we got some tools we can use to arrange that. Well, indeed, we can use the burning glass to singe the base of the sundial and then turn the layers until it unlocks the sundial to reveal a new slot for the Blackbridge chips. One short trip later and we got all that plugged in, and there's our satellite. This apparently unlocks external communications and new experimental data for the laboratory. Well, we're off to the lab to download this new data. It's a set of new triggers and effects for our experiments. They are all interesting, but one that particularly caught my eye was remove crate from the tunnel. Well, that's a new development. There's also new mail in the office, a message from the legal team dealing with the inheritance, and a message from Anne telling us staff leaves messages in staff announcement, except we could not read those because our internet was not on until now. This is mostly more lore with some bits of them getting impatient about progress. Give me time, this house is complicated. There is a mention of Christmas and that they left us gifts in the boudoir, which I did visit on that day. It's interesting that this planet is clearly not like Earth when it comes to society and tradition, and still somehow there's Christmas. One interesting mention is talk about constellations and that we're entering celebration of the third paragon Rina, and talk about angels and their natural order. This has now come up more than once, so I expect we'll need to figure out this order for something. And then they are just impressed with the fact that we managed to get the satellite dish back up. Well then, some hints here, but still nothing too big for us to follow. I think it's time to finish up with our sigils then. Second to last we have Nuance. I knew their color was green and that they use air travel, but other information was not as set. For society I went with militaristic, as they supported Fen in the war and it felt like that may be aligned in that way. For weather I just went, partially because it made sense to me with the air travel, but also there's that note in the clock tower that talks about westwardly winds and Nuance is to the west, so maybe that was a clue. Well, it works. For the puzzle blocks we have green pieces which skip across. We are quite familiar with those by now. It's interesting how futuristic this place looks compared to the area we're in. By far my favorite realm I have visited during this trip, but I have always had a penchant for technology and I'm less moved by the beauty of nature than others. The soot-filled street and soaring skyscrapers here are just as stirring to me as the mountains of Corarica or the beaches of Morajay. Perhaps I am just letting my childhood love of dirty blocks compromise my objectivity. From the shops I have visited, it seems to me it's just as popular here as it is back home. Speaking of home, as I look across the Eastern Sea, I can almost see its shores. I never thought that I would miss the sight of red flags. And for the final key, I have finally managed to get the vault key 370 from the trader after multiple attempts at various ways to do this. In the vault we get the Sanctum Key, and there's also a note. Uncle, thank you again for all your help. I know I could never hope to repay you, but it pains me to know that I won't even have the chance to try. At any rate, I'm leaving these extra funds here, as well as the extra passports. It would be too risky if we were searched at the border, and the money would raise too many suspicions. I think we all want a clean start anyway. I know I do. Mary. And with this, it's time for our final sigil, Corarica. We have another clue in the room directory with sauna being Corarican, which to me indicates a cold and snowy area. The dormitory also has multiple clues pointing to the academic nature of the region, and we know their color is orange. Now, my first choice for the transportation was horses because there were mentions of mountains, and the sigil books mentions horses for rough terrain, but apparently it's roads and carriages instead. The orange-colored boxes of Corarica are apparently based on taking a vote to decide things, and that's why they change color for majority. I was interpreting this before as them just being a weaker nation that just always follows whoever has the most strength instead, but I guess this works too. But this time, to solve the box, we have to avoid changing the color of the orange boxes and instead use other colors to move them around to position. And for our final postcard there have been fewer and fewer opportunities the further we travel up into the mountains to attend to my correspondence, and I find myself regretting having bought so many books, as this is the first realm I have visited without porters. Here, every person is expected to carry their own belongings, and if you can't, you throw away that which is expendable. It's looking like I'll be bringing back less souvenirs than I had planned. I never expected to appreciate the cold but the frigid weather here is welcome relief coming from the sweltering shores of Vera. P.S. I ended up forsaking all but one of my books. And then we need to put that all together for the 8 realms in 8 months puzzle. We know he started in Fenris and traveled south, so that would be Elijah. The postcard from H. Ares mentions it would have been easier to get there if all the rail was still connected, so that makes sense he would have come here from Elijah as well. After that, he travels by ship to Morajay. It's not obvious from the postcard that this is the order, but it falls to place later as Farah mentions the weather of Morajay. Then in Morajay, he also mentions reading his books, and by the time he got to Corarica, he had to dump some of them because he could not carry them all with him. Nuance comes after both Corarica and Morajay, which are both directly referenced in that text. And he ends up back in Fenrir at the end. So one of the realms is basically used twice, just first time you need to know Fen is occupying the same land Orinda Ares did. We can plug all that into the board in the 46th room to unlock a secret compartment. In here there's a deed to Mount Holly, indicating the size of the land that was bought in 1912, which is shortly before all those mining operations started in the underground area. And then we have our uncle's will. Fragments of it are read in the game intro, but there's more here. He mentions giving the 2 clocks that are in the room stack on the sacred hour, so we know there's more meaning to the time of 1:30. Clara Epson's brother would be getting her diary and the key to it. I know the diary is in her chamber, but we can explore getting the key another time. The will also mentions the artwork in the gallery. I have not yet shown you the gallery at all because it's a very cryptic room with cryptic paintings we need to name, and so far I've not been able to. But maybe with the clues here at least giving me the first letter of each name, this will be somewhat easier to achieve. Apparently there's a time limit of 1 in-game year to solve this before that room disappears. We also get all the names of the angels and once again mention of their natural numeric order. We already used them in the order from the chapel, but I assume there might be another order we have to learn about from those clues scattered about. Then we get to that page that is read in the intro, with an extra bit that if we failed the house would be donated, but also boarded up for 110 years or until black flags are flying over the realm once again. Now, on the last page, we also learned that in either case we should be getting the original manuscripts for our mother's 2 books. The Red Prince and a New Clue, which I can only assume contain more information and clues, but they are not in the safe, so we'll have to find them somehow. Once again, we get the mention of the natural order of things here, so this might be what we need to solve to retrieve those manuscripts. Well, solving all the sigils granted me my 7th trophy. I already had Full House, Inheritance, Parlor, and Billiard Room puzzle trophies, as well as the Wealth and Diploma ones. 1 more trophy and I can reach the requirement for unlocking blue tents in the gift shop. Well, this one was actually not that hard, as I was just missing 2 contraptions and I knew what they were from the demo. The dowsing rod and the picklock amplifier. I just never crafted them before in the full game. So what are blue tents? Well, apparently they make blue notes appear in blue rooms on rank 8. Which means we have a whole new layer of how we have to explore the house to unlock even more information. And let's not forget those crates in the tunnel. There are a lot of them, so I see a lot of experiments in my future. So join me next time to see if we can follow those threads to any conclusions. Or will it just be more puzzles and cryptic clues all the way down? I hope you enjoyed this update into my progress in BluePrince, and I will see you soon on another adventure.